Justice League issue 39, Scott Snyder writing with Jorge Jimenez and Daniel Samper on the art. This is such a non-ending that leads into Snyder's next event, and the fact that there's a Justice League 40 out next week, which Snyder had to actually clarify on Twitter, is set before was it his entire run? It was either his entire run or it was set before all this stuff from recently. Anyway.
I'm glad you said that because I missed that. So...
Yeah, I didn't see that either.
Yeah, no, I retweeted it on the comics on DC Comics podcast Twitter. So
I'll go and check what he actually said then.
Yeah, you can go check what he said if you want. But he did confirm it's set before whatever has been happening. But here's the thing: so this book ends with essentially the Justice League is pulled from the timeline or whatever, and they're going to have to go into hyper time to like fix things. And this is leading to whatever the big encore, because we get this teaser at the end with Wonder Woman with the chainsaw of truth.
Yeah,
so
buddy.
good.
Again, I saw them open at Riot Fest. It was dope.
Yeah, so it's like that teaser's fine. Like, I'm down with Wonder Woman with the chainsaw. Okay, I'm down for the ridiculousness of that. Like, absolutely. Here's the thing. This is what I was alluding to earlier. Is if technically speaking, every other book in the DCU should be pausing until this is addressed, because technically the continuity as we know it doesn't exist anymore until this is fixed. Right. And the problem is that they've done so much work over the past 6 months to make sure that Flash is tying into You're the Villain. There's a Doomsday in the sky. Oh, Batgirl's got it in the sky. Action Comics has got it in the sky.
So in hockey, there's goaltender interference, right? Where if the goalie could have made the stop, but another player had gotten into their way and a goal scored, it's no goal. And I feel like the whole Year of the Villain is just editorial interference, that if Snyder had just been left alone to do this in Justice League, maybe cross over to a couple pertinent books, we wouldn't be in this mess that we're in right now.
I mean, some of my critiques that I've had are just the books writing on it, so I still have. But yeah, this mess we have of the universe.
It's interesting because I really like this issue. I think it's really good. I like everything that it does. I like what it sets up. I'm down for death metal, encore, whatever they call it.
I liked it better when it was in Doomsday Clock, but that's just me.
Yeah. Sure. That's the other critique I have, is that a lot of the themes that it seems to be hitting at the end feel like, hey, we just did a better version of this story.
Yeah, no, however, I don't disagree with that. Doomsday Clock was better in every way. Of course it was. It was like one of the best comics of the last decade.
Yeah.
But I like this anyway. I had fun.
I think, because I mean, the story is basically that Jean reaches out to everyone, telepathically, tries to sway the feeling of everyone to hope instead, or justice rather.
Choose justice.
And I do kind of like the meta kind of commentary here of when they basically say we lost the vote, because all I could think about was the 2016 election or Brexit or any of these things that have happened recently. I saw a lot of social commentary and Batman just being like, we lost the vote.
There's like a disbelief. They were so certain in their righteousness, and then wait, what happened?
We got so close to winning. I mean, because I'm assuming it's close. It's that thing where it got to the. In case of Brexit, it was like 51%, and it was like, damn you, damn 52,
you. But
or you win the popular vote, but it still doesn't matter because of an archaic system of anointing a president. Hey,
and not to get ton of political, but it was just that particular moment made me think of all these things.
Yeah.
And the feeling of the aftermath of all those events. So that's fine. I will say this has to be some of the worst art I've seen from Jimenez and Sampier. It felt rushed to me. It felt because this is the thing. The previous solicits implied this issue was going to be very different, and it feels like they changed a lot of this so last minute that the art, as a result, feels very rushed to me across the board. A lot of the faces, a lot of the proportions feel off.
Because at first you can tell that it's Jimenez, but as the book keeps going and it blends into Sampier, it doesn't do it gracefully, I usually would say. So, and then like Pete just said, Jimenez's art, it's not his best. Like, there's like Supergirl messed up forehead.
It's
like rarely terrible, but it's noticeably not up to par.
It's noticeably mediocre. And so the end of the book, after they've all failed, and Jean has his kind of 2001 Space Odyssey Star Child moment. He gets up on the moon, and like the rest of the Justice League are there in all black. And it's like, hey, we're not dead, we're something else. We're, let me actually find some of the text here just so we get this accurate. So the quintessence show up, right? Which is,
Quintessence.
Ganthet and the Phantom Stranger.
It
and,
annoys me that there's 6 of them.
And Hive.
Yeah, because Quintessence 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I know that seems petty and it's tiny.
Yeah.
It just annoys me.
Ganthet, Phantom Stranger, Highfather, Hera, and who am I missing?
Spectre?
There's definitely 6 of them because I counted. Spectre's one.
Yeah, but you don't count Spectre. Spectre's never really part of the quintessence. He's just there.
So it's 5 then. 5 plus Spectre.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're including Spectre in it this time, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
It's the quintessence and Spectre.
Yeah, so they give them their outfits, right? We are the ones who saved you, brought you to this space, cloaked in our energy. She may have returned to the other heroes to the past and the future. So they're basically just hand waving that, okay, she didn't kill the GSA or the Legion. They're just back in their own timeline. It's fine.
Right.
But you she meant to kill. So do not be insolent, blah, blah, blah. Protecting what, blah, blah. I'm just trying to get the exact text of what they say is going on. So Aquaman says, no, but things rise and fall with tides, Barry. This moment maybe is not ours. And Ganthet says, the Atlantean is right. What happened here was never going to work, right? So this was never going to be the way we do this. And there's a page with all these various things happening. We see Young Justice, we see Black Adam.
Leviathan.
Yeah, Leviathan, all this stuff.
We see a pound from Doomsday Clock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the Black Adam one, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention you specifically.
Yeah. So the universe has been divided by evil, and in division comes fear, anger, disillusionment, blah, 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 blah. So what is this option you've been protecting? Tell us. He's like, we'll show you. He brings up a big door. Behind this door lies a path that connects all actions, all past, present, and future. This fight is bigger than justice or doom. It is everything. This is all very crisisy sounding to me.
It is, yeah.
Converging everything. But be aware, in opening this door, you will bring everything to bear and give reckoning to every story, every event throughout history, the ones you know and the ones you do not. And they're like, okay, of course we're going to try. And then the line that really stuck out to me is, okay, we're just doing the same themes as what Doomsday Clock kind of did. Is when one of them says, okay, listen to me, Perpetua's great lies that we each matter alone. The truth is that we matter by making every life matter, honouring every story. That's how we fight her. We make everything matter. And all I felt was, yeah, Doomsday Clock just did that. we just did this.
It's called the metaverse, guys. And
that's not wrong. It's Doomsday Clock light.
The whole thing with Perpetua winning, I thought that was like, okay, this is like Empire Strikes Back of Snyder's stuff now, right? I get that, and we knew this other thing was coming, but it just kind of felt unfulfilling. Like I never get the moment like she won.
Yeah,
like, we're told she's won, but I don't have that feeling.
I think for me that moment comes when they realize they lost the vote.
Yeah, the final panel is them just running into this door of light, and that's the end of the book. And I don't think there should be a Justice League 40. I think, no, don't get me wrong, as much as I joked and said that every book should be stopping, that wouldn't normally happen, and that'd be okay pretty much because, like I say, I wouldn't expect all these books to be so heavily tied in, because it raises all these questions of like, okay, so Hell Arisen set after this, or the Justice League around during that? Because the Legion of Doom are in Action Comics right now. Is that after this? Is it before this? If it is after this, does that mean there's another Superman still in continuity, but this is like a separate batch that have been separated from continuity? There's so many goddamn stupid questions.
Yeah.
But at the very least, I think having Justice League issue 40 out next week or in 2 weeks' time is silly. No. I feel like that should be the end of a Justice League book until this event's done.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree.
But no, instead we're going to have. I mean, Venditta's Justice League might be fun. It may be a good solid little book, but
yeah,
it just feels weird. It's like you end on this cliffhanger and then you have issue 40 and it's set before all this stuff until further notice. It's just.
Yeah, that is weird. I don't know why. Just because they wanted a Justice League book, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I don't know why. That is just strange.
I'd say do a 12-issue maxi to separate it, but then obviously the main Justice League book will always sell more than a maxi that's separate. It always will, just because it's got the numbering.
Yeah.
And that's the reason. So I don't. It's frustrating to me. I don't think this issue is bad per se. I think it's bad as a final issue. Actually, this is how I'll put it. See if Encore or Death Metal or whatever we're calling this thing, if this was starting in the next couple of weeks, if the first issue of that was in February, I would say this is perfectly fine. because it's setting up something that's about to start. The fact that that's not starting until at least May is a problem.
Yeah, I get that. I think
Or give us a trailer like John's used to. Like, remember when Sinestro Corps War ended, and it says, "Yeah, but the worst is yet to come," and it was like little hints of Blackest Night, and you're like, "Oh man, coming, in 2 summers or whatever." Like, choose something else here, because I got to the end of this, and I went to reading it digitally.
Yeah.
And I went to and it was the last page with all the publishing stuff on it.
So you don't know, because we're reading digitally, you can't feel how much is left, so you don't know when you're coming up to the end. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, well.
It's funny because we've been complaining for the last year about all these little tie-in moments that have been intrusive. I never predicted at the time just how much of a cluster F this was going to cause in terms of the continuity overall once we got to the end of it, because this is a mess.
It is. It's one of those things where in this story, I don't mind it, what I said earlier, and I don't mind that there's a break between this and the next part, personally. I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me as much. I'm like, okay, it's weird that there's a Justice League book, and I think that they should have taken a break. I'm with you on that part.
It's everything compounding. It's that the story's not happening for a few months, plus there's a Justice League book that's just doing other things. It's all these things kind of adding on to each other to just make it feel like a complete mess. But the most big thing, though, the biggest thing here is just how every other book is tying into this, and this book is telling us that the Justice League is gone from Earth and Perpetua is in control, and yet there's still, characters, all the Justice League are still there, other characters are still there. It doesn't feel like anything's changed in those other books, and maybe it will next week. Maybe all the books are going to do something, but I doubt it.
Yeah, no, I doubt it. I think it's one of those things where we have to assume every other book takes place before this part of the story, but they've screwed it all up by having the Doom symbol in them. Yeah, frankly, you take that away, and there isn't a single problem. I could quite happily say every other book takes place before this Justice League book, like the whole thing.
Yeah, the Flash was the biggest problem before, but now everything's a problem. now all of them are problems. Yeah. It's so weird.
Well, like you were saying, like when Perpetua wins, that's when the Doom symbol appears to everybody, right? So that's where you can say, like, the stuff in Batgirl happens.
No, I think the Doom symbol was already there. I think they're just making the choice.
I know, but what I mean is, like she never sees that it's becoming the justice symbol, right? To her, that's only, whatever. And this is how I would try to fix it in my brain if I cared. But I don't, because it's a mess.
Yeah,
so...
this is probably the worst it's ever been since I've been reading comics. Like, just what the overall continuity mess
it's
is like.
It's somehow too many hands, but also not enough hands in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it's weird.
See if Justice League had never done all these tie-ins, all these Year of the Villain tie-ins never happened, like, this would be fine. I would just say this all happens later, no big deal.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, it's so wonky. I can't even begin to fathom it.
It's very wonky.
I mean, the issue's fine. I think it bugs me that Snyder's run just ends with a cliffhanger for his next thing. It's kind of annoying.
I think it looks, this happened for you guys with Supergirl, with Orlando. I think that was frustrating, where it felt completely unrelated. This, to me at least, it's the next part of this story. It is like a natural evolution of it. It's not like out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with it leading into his next event, especially because his events might be his ending to his superhero run, and he's probably done with superhero comics for a while after this or whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine. It feels so unfulfilling as an issue. I was not expecting that final panel to be the final panel. I turned, like Matt was saying, you turn the page and it's like, wait a minute, what? That was it. We've spent, because I've been saying for issues that this arc went on too long. That I was expecting this arc. I was ready for this arc to be done 3 or 4 issues ago, and we get to this final issue finally, and that's the final moment. Is just I'll come back for more. God damn you! Yeah. You could have gotten to this point issues ago. But I mean,
yeah.
It's been a frustrating run. It's been a lot of fun stuff in the run. It's not been, I think it's not been a bad comic. There's been a lot of good things in there. I've had some problems with it, but ultimately it's always going to be the connective tissue between Metal 1 and 2 now, as opposed to being a run that stands on its own.
Yeah, I think it's less a Justice League run and more Snyder's Justice League run is Metal through Justice League through Metal 2, whatever it's called,
Right.
as an entirety, rather than just, issues 1 through 40 odd of Justice League.
But Metal was also kind of a capper to his Batman run as well. It's kind of a weird...
I don't think it necessarily is. I mean, sure, there are little bits here or there, but nothing about that actually feels like a follow-on from his Batman run.
Not like Last Night on Earth did.
Sure.
No,
sure.
Like, that was more... You could start at Metal and read Metal this and presumably Metal 2 and get a complete run.
I just mean just how much of a Batman focus it was. It did bring up a few things. All the Batman, or the Dark Batman from the different...
but like generally speaking, if you're doing like an omnibus of Justice League by Scott Snyder, it's Metal through to Metal 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, Justice League 39 was fine, frustrating as a final issue, and frustrating as what it does to the continuity as a whole. Also,
I agree with all this. I will say I got excited when the Quintessence showed up, just because I brought them up for I forget why last week. And I got to that, I was like, oh shoot, weird.
Yeah. I think, fundamentally, I disagree with the things. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was not a conclusion, absolutely not. It is leading into the next part of the story. And yeah, it's a little frustrating. I have to wait a couple of months for that part of the story, but I'm looking forward to it all the same. I had a blast. I liked this issue, some spotty art aside.
I think it goes to me saying I was ready for the story to be done a few issues ago. Is that kind of also kind of extends to an extent to whatever they're doing next? Where I'm like, I'm ready for this to be done. I don't really need a whole event to finish this off. Like, I'm ready for this to be over so we can move on to other things and get to 5G. But I mean, the good thing about this is that having a few months off from Snyder's Justice League is that I'll probably not be as tired of it when it starts up.
Yeah.
So that's the plus to this.
And if we're looking at the Chainsaw of Truth and whatnot, and
still love that.
Yeah, and it looks like she's got the Batman Who Laughs head on her belt there. Look at the.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And honestly, I kind of hope that with Venditti's run being set before all this, maybe it'll smartly just introduce a few elements that then we can call upon in Metal, like here are some allies here or there. Maybe Snyder's gone, hey, can you just do me a favor and kind of introduce a couple of little things, editorial, or pass it along, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Venditti has been really good at introducing stuff. Like we talked about how he has been one of the best at playing with the Doom symbol and the Dark Batman and all that sort of stuff. Like consistently, he's been really good at that. So if there is anyone I trust to introduce a couple of little bits and pieces here or there, Venditti has got my vote for that.
Yeah, mine too.
Did you get the exact Snyder quote? I've got it here.
It was before the entire run.
Before the entire run, okay. Yeah, because he says, no, just to be clear, Justice League 40 is a new story that's set before our run. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Shoot.
So
Which
yeah,
is interesting.
Yeah, that's 2 years ago. We're going back 2 years in terms of comics here to.
Yeah, and that's the bit I think is weird. We should have just no Justice League book for a few months, take the sales hit, but of course they don't want to do that.
No,
which is why I'm saying best case scenario, introduce a few elements.
I think they underestimate the value in letting us miss something for a little bit. Like how much were we desperate for Wally to start a rebirth because we didn't have Wally? Like, let us miss Justice League just for a couple months, so that when it comes back in this event, it feels special and it feels like a big deal. But of course,
I'm absolutely with you on that. But that's beyond editorial's control, even.
Because I guarantee you, we'd be a lot more willing, I think, to buy like tie-ins to events and stuff if we didn't feel as fatigued when we already got to the start of it.
Yeah.
They always try to flood us with books, and it does no one any good. Anyway, that's Justice League 39. What are you giving it, Matt?
I'm gonna give this a 7. Like it's good, but like that last page, not that it made me upset, but I was just like, all right, well, when does this other one start now? That's perfectly fine.
Connor?
7.5. I really liked it. I'm excited for going forward. Knocking off points for some spotty art and just inconsistencies in that regard.
I'm going with a 6. There's got some good stuff in there. I do feel like the first half of it though could have been condensed heavily. I didn't necessarily know if I needed as much of a speech from Martian Manhunter as he's doing his thing. So I felt a little bit drawn out in that sense. But My frustrations have been made clear, so 6 out of 10 for me.